All right, what's up, everyone? Here we go with another performance lab breakdown here. I actually just did this whole breakdown, got to the very end, and realized that I didn't record my iPad. And so since I didn't record my iPad, I didn't get the images, the still images is what we're going through here with the breakdown. So, and there might be some benefit that we'll end up getting from this now that I already know. When I went through this actual video originally, one of the conversations I had was that I don't even know what the end result is going to be until I actually look at the breakdown. And so we were kind of going through that all together. But since I messed it up here, we're going to have to, now I do know what the end result is. And essentially what these numbers are, this is Christian McCaffrey here running a 4.49 at the combine, John Ross running a 4.22, and Cam Newton running a 4.59. And the idea is that we wanted to compare what some of the smaller guys are going to look like in their actual sprint, so where in each one of their steps they're going to be at, and then compare that to a bigger guy, Cam Newton, 6'5". Christian McCaffrey, I think, is like 5'11", and then John Ross is a little bit under 5'11". So, but these guys are definitely obviously faster than Cam Newton, and so what's the difference, right? And what we can look at right away and what we can see in the comparison with Christian McCaffrey and John Ross is that the first step, 0.6 yards for Christian McCaffrey, 0.8 yards for John Ross. Second step, 1.5 yards for Christian McCaffrey, and 1.9 yards for John Ross. So John Ross is very, very explosive, got out the ball very, very quickly, but then Christian McCaffrey was able to catch him. By the time they got to the seventh step, they're about at the same spot, 10.1 compared to 10.2. And then now we'll go and compare that to actually Cam Newton, where first step was 1 yard, and so now I'll go through here. First step is about a yard. Second step there is about 2.4, maybe 2.5 yards. Third step is about 4 yards, somewhere in there. Fifth step is about 6.1. Okay, fifth step is about 8 yards. And then sixth step is about 10.1. So now 6 steps is 10.1 for Christian McCaffrey. That was 7 steps. And for John Ross, that was 7 steps before they got to about 10.1. Now we're going to the seventh step, which was about 12.1. And now eighth step is about 14.5. Ninth step, 16.8. 10th step here is at 19.1. 11th step here is at 21.7. 12th step here is at 24. So now 12th step at 24 seconds. Now we can see that again. Let's compare that to where's Christian McCaffrey at on his 12th step, which is 20.2 yards. And then where is John Ross on his 12th steps? About 20.5 yards, right? So what's happening here is we're seeing that there's a great turnover within John Ross and Christian McCaffrey. So they're very, very quick with their individual steps, which is a great thing to take notice of. Obviously, something that's not a huge surprise. They're smaller guys, so they're able to have a lot better overall transition phase. But it's important to actually get numbers behind it, because if you're in that 5, 10 to 6 foot range, now you can compare yourself a little bit more to these numbers where like Christian McCaffrey, he was a little bit, he had more to go, right? So on that 20th step, he was at 38.2 yards, where on John Ross's 20th step, he was at 39.1. And so, he had a little bit further to go before he was going to actually take a step. But both of them took a little bit more than 20 steps for them to actually accomplish this 40-yard dash, where Cam Newton, it took him a little bit more than 18 steps. On his 18th step, he was at 39.8 yards. So he was basically at that 40-yard mark at 18 steps. But this is going to be crucial, right? We got to know how the steps are, where the steps are, and if you can do this, if your goal is to maximize your 40-yard dash, and you can start to look and say, okay, at this step I'm here, at this step I'm here, at this step I'm here. Now you can get critical in what are the areas to improve. Is it your actual stride length? Is your stride length good? Is it how many steps? Is it your frequency? Is it how much time you're spending on the ground? All these things need to be added up for you to truly get an understanding of where you're at. Let's go back to the breakdown here. I'm thinking I'm at 24. Yep, 12 step number 24. Okay, 13th step 26.5. 14th step 29. 15th step 31.8. 16th step 34.5. 17th step 37.1. And 18th step 39.8. Real quick, I'm just going to go and let's get in one of these other videos. Let's get Christian McCaffrey in here. And so we can see as we get close to the end here, we'll get to at about 34 yards for both of these guys. Okay, at this moment, right, so what we see is when he's at about 34 yards, he's at his 18th step for Christian McCaffrey, and this is Cam Newton's about 16th step. But if we look to see how much time they actually spent on the ground here, and if we look at the bottom, so he touches the ground at about 5.6 with his left foot, and is off at about 5.7, right? So that he's about exactly 0.1 milliseconds in terms of overall ground contact time on his 16th step, which I'll go and write that down here. Grab this real quick. 0.1 milliseconds. Okay, and now we'll look at Christian McCaffrey, where he's touching, boom, at about 12.8. Sorry, he's touching about 12.91. And then he's off at about, so touches, we could say 12.8. Boom, touches at 12.8. And is off at 12.98. 12.8. So again, so they're right about now, they're at about the same amount of time spent on the ground, which is very, very interesting. Boom, 5.6. Yep, and about 5.7 is when you're off the ground. So at this point, they're spending at the same amount of time on the ground in each one of their steps, which means that in order for Christian McCaffrey to have run 0.1 seconds faster than him, it's not about that top end speed and how good the transitions is there. It's got to be something to do with during, probably this transition phase or maybe this start phase that really helped him in maximizing his overall sprint. But in terms of their top end speed, they're both very, very similar in what their overall turnover is going to be. And you could see what I did there, right? So that's going to be another important part of it is how much time are you spending on the ground, and then also how much time is your foot spending off of the ground. So this is going to be important too. So we just decided 12.98 is when that left foot leaves the ground. And then 13.31 is when it touches back down. 5.7. So when his leaves the ground, then touches back at 6.07. 6.07. That was from 5.70. So it'll be easier to do the math on. So this is 0.37 time off the ground. This is 9.8. So 13.3. So Christian McCaffrey's transition time is 0.3 milliseconds. Cam Newton's is 0.37. So a little bit more time spent off the ground, which it makes sense since he has a little bit more overall distance in each one of in each one of his steps. So there's definitely, something that can be said for, understanding the turnover. And that just as a brief look into how we want to look and get very scientific into what it is that you're trying to do within your speed in order to better maximize your speed. If you don't get into the numbers and you don't get very clear there, then you really don't know what you need to work on and what you need to improve. So that's the point of this video. If you're watching this video, if you're interested in learning more about, how we can help you here, check out our speed program, 12 weeks, $97. Best speed program out there. Very, very technical, the best information, the most science. I mean, there's nobody that's competing with us in terms of really getting down into the nitty-gritty of the numbers and also giving you the best overall information to improve your sprint. So we go into modules, we'll go into exercise, we go into nutrition, we go into all the clear, concise points of what's going to help you take your game to another level. As always, guys, thanks for watching the video, and we will see you soon.